My parents threw away my entire childhood to pamper my golden child sister. Now I raised their picture-perfect family to the ground, and they are facing felony charges. It all started on a rainy Tuesday, just 10 days before my high school graduation. I'd just gotten home from my shift at the local diner, reeking of stale coffee and grease, dreaming of a shower and sleep. But as I walked into the kitchen, I saw my mom at the island, wearing that expression. You know the one, where she's about to drop a bombshell but already dares you to react so she can play the victim. "Maya, honey, we need to talk about the party," she said, her hands clasped together like she was bracing for impact. My stomach dropped. "What about it?" "Well," she sighed, putting on her most gentle, patronizing voice, "your sister, Chloe, has been feeling really left out lately. She thinks everyone is making too big a deal about your graduation. Your father and we think she has a very valid point." I just stared, completely stunned by the sheer absurdity. Chloe was 15. A sophomore. What did my graduation have to do with her? Mom sighed again, heavier this time, as if I was the difficult one. "You know how sensitive Chloe is. She's been crying every night because she feels invisible. All anyone talks about is you, your accomplishments, your future, your college acceptances. She feels like nobody cares about her anymore." "Mom," I said, my voice barely a whisper, trembling slightly, "graduating high school happens exactly once." "Don't be dramatic, Maya," she snapped, her patience gone. "We just think it would be better if we postpone the party. Maybe something smaller, quieter." Chloe suggested a quiet family dinner instead. "Just the 5 of us. Wouldn't that be nicer?" The 5 of us meant Mom, Dad, Chloe, me, and my little brother, Leo, who was 11 and just wanted to play Minecraft in peace. "You want to cancel my graduation party?" I asked, making sure this insanity was real, a party for an event I earned, because Chloe's feelings are hurt that people are congratulating me instead of her. "We're not canceling it," Mom corrected, sharp as a tack. "We're postponing it for when she graduates in 3 years so she can feel special too." "You're being incredibly selfish right now. This is exactly what we're talking about. You always need to be the absolute center of attention." The irony was so thick, I could barely breathe. My entire 18 years, I'd been the invisible one, living in Chloe's blinding, unearned spotlight. Chloe, the miracle baby, with her perfect ringlets, who could summon our parents' attention with a single whimper. When she threw a plate-smashing tantrum at 14 over the wrong color iPhone, Mom said she was learning to process complex emotions. When I quietly cried in my room because I didn't make the debate team, Dad told me to stop being dramatic and handle failure. When Chloe scraped a B, average in middle school, Dad booked a 4-day trip to Disney to celebrate her academic breakthrough. Meanwhile, I'd been on the high honor roll every single semester since 5th grade, and my peak celebration was Dad grunting, "That's nice, kiddo," without looking up from his iPad. Chloe wanted to learn guitar, so Dad bought her a $400 Fender. She played it twice, got bored, and it collected dust. I worked since I was 15 to buy my own beat-up Toyota Corolla, paying for my gas, insurance, and phone. I'd applied to 14 colleges, got into 10, including MIT, with a massive scholarship based on my GPA, test scores, and grueling extracurriculars. I had done everything perfectly. And now, they wanted to cancel my graduation celebration because my sister couldn't handle 4 hours of people looking at me instead of her. "I'm not postponing my party," I said calmly, gripping the counter to stop my hands from shaking. "You already sent out invitations. People bought plane tickets. Aunt Sarah is driving 4 hours. We'll call everyone and explain," Mom dismissed with a wave of her hand. "They'll understand." "I don't understand," I yelled, my voice finally rising. "Maya, you need to be more understanding," she scolded. "Let Chloe have the spotlight for once." Is that really so much to ask? Something deep inside me violently cracked. For once? Are you serious? Chloe has had the spotlight my entire life. Every single thing she's ever wanted, she gets. Every minor accomplishment of hers gets celebrated like she cured a disease, while mine are completely ignored unless they somehow make you look good to the neighbors. I'm graduating with high honors, Mom. I'm going to MIT on a scholarship, and you want to cancel my party because Chloe is jealous. Don't raise your voice at your mother. Dad barked, strolling into the kitchen, briefcase still in hand. What's all this yelling about? Your daughter is being completely unreasonable about the party situation, Mom said, crossing her arms, the exhausted victim. Our daughter graduated in the top 5% of her class, and you're canceling her party, I shot back. Those are the facts. Dad massaged his forehead, looking at me like a burden he couldn't wait to put down. Look, Maya, your mom and I already decided. We're doing a family dinner instead. Chloe needs to feel valued, too. By taking away something from me? How does that make any logical sense? I demanded, hot tears of pure frustration stinging my eyes. Because you're 18 now, Dad said coldly. You're a legal adult. You should be mature enough to understand that sometimes we make sacrifices for family. Sacrifices for family, right? I whispered, the fight completely draining out of me, replaced by a freezing, terrifying clarity. Like how you sacrificed my entire childhood to make sure Chloe felt special every second of every single day. Fine, I heard myself say, my voice completely dead. Cancel the party. Mom genuinely grinned, her whole face lighting up with victory. Thank you, sweetheart. I knew you'd understand once we explained it properly. I'm going upstairs, I said, turning my back on them. I walked to my room on complete autopilot. My legs felt like lead, but my mind was terrifyingly clear. I didn't cry. I didn't slam my door. I just walked in, quietly shut the door, and locked it. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Every diner shift, every babysitting gig, every birthday check from my grandparents that I managed to hide from Mom. The balance stared back at me in bright green numbers, $11,450. It wasn't a millionaire's fortune, but it was my escape hatch. Money they couldn't touch, seize, or use to manipulate me. I grabbed my faded navy duffel bag from my closet and started throwing things inside. I wasn't just packing clothes, I was packing my entire existence. My laptop, chargers, and the small fireproof lockbox I'd bought 2 years ago. Inside, my birth certificate, social security card, bank statements, and my MIT admission letter. I methodically folded my favorite sweaters, my hands moving with a robotic precision that terrified me. My phone vibrated. A text from Aunt Sarah, so excited for your party next week. I'm bringing your graduation present early so you can use it for dorm shopping. So proud of you, Maya. My eyes stung fiercely. I blinked hard and typed back. Actually, the party is canceled. Family stuff. Long story, but I'd still love to see you if you want to grab coffee. Less than 10 seconds later, my phone rang. It was Aunt Sarah. Canceled? Maya, what on earth happened? I told her everything. The entire story flowed out of me like I'd been holding it behind a dam for 18 years, and the concrete finally shattered. Chloe's jealousy, Mom's endless manipulation, Dad's utter disregard, the sickening pattern of favoritism that had defined my entire upbringing. Aunt Sarah was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was like steel. Pack your bags. You are staying with me until you leave for Boston. Aunt Sarah, I can't ask you to do that, I choked out, a sob finally escaping. You aren't asking. I am telling you, she commanded. Pack enough for a few weeks. Drive straight to my house. We will sort out the rest later. What about Mom and Dad? I whispered, suddenly feeling like a terrified little kid again. You are 18 years old, Maya, she said firmly. They cannot legally stop you from walking out that door. She was right. So that's precisely what I did. I slung the heavy duffel bag over my shoulder, grabbed my laptop bag, and laced my car keys between my fingers. When I walked downstairs, the house was infuriatingly normal. The smell of Mom's famous garlic roasted chicken wafted from the kitchen. Dad was in the living room watching a golf tournament. I walked straight toward the front door. Maya, Mom called from the kitchen, stepping into the hallway with a dish towel in her hands. She looked at my bags, her eyes widening. Where do you think you're going with those? Dinner is almost ready. I won't be here for dinner, I said, my hand resting on the cold brass doorknob. I'm leaving. I'll come back for the rest of my things eventually, but I am living somewhere else from now on. Dad shot up from the sofa, The golf tournament instantly forgotten. You are not going anywhere. Don't be absolutely ridiculous. I'm 18, I said, staring him dead in the eyes. I can go anywhere I want. Maya Reynolds, you put those bags down right this second. Mom shrieked, her voice taking on that sharp, biting edge that used to make me freeze in my tracks. It didn't work anymore. The spell was broken. You made your decision when you canceled my party, I said, my voice eerily calm. I am making mine. Chloe's bedroom door opened. She stood at the top of the stairs in expensive silk pajamas, looking down at me with a bewildered, almost offended expression. What is going on? She whined. Your sister is throwing a massive tantrum, Dad sneered, crossing his arms. I am not throwing anything, I corrected softly. I am just done. I am done being the backup child. I am done being the invisible scapegoat. Stop pretending this is a normal family where people actually care about each other rather than just manipulating each other to cater to Chloe's ego. How dare you? Mom whispered, clutching her pearls in a display of theatrical shock. After everything we have done for you. Like what? I challenged, stepping fully toward her. Like canceling my graduation party? Wait, I should be grateful for that, right? Because it taught me how to be kind and unselfish. So congratulations, Mom. I've learned my lesson. I am unselfishly removing myself from your perfect little family. I opened the front door, the cool night air hitting my face like a physical wake-up call. If you walk out that door, don't you ever bother coming back. Dad roared, his face flushing a deep angry purple, his fists clenched as if he were the victim of a heinous crime. And I was the crazy one, I said simply, and I walked away. Mom started shrieking something about respect and gratitude. Chloe dramatically wept on the stairs. Dad yelled that I would regret this for the rest of my life. I didn't look back. I threw my bags into the passenger seat of my Corolla, locked the doors, and drove away. My hands trembled so violently I had to pull over twice on the highway, but I made it to Aunt Sarah's house. She was waiting on the porch. She took one look at my tear-stained face, pulled me inside, locked the door, and let me cry on her couch for an hour. My phone exploded with texts all night. Moms, you are tearing this family apart. Dads, this is what we get for raising an ungrateful brat. Chloe's, I hope you're happy. You ruined my night. Only Leo's text shattered my heart. Are you coming back? I miss you. He was an innocent kid caught in a toxic war zone. I texted him back privately. I miss you too, buddy. This isn't about you. I will see you soon. I promise. The rest of them I completely ignored. A lot of you probably wonder how I saved $11,450 by 18. I worked under the table babysitting starting at 14, then got a legal job at a diner the second I turned 16. 30 hours a week during school, 50 in the summer. I never went to parties, never bought expensive clothes, and drove a beat-up car I paid for in cash. My parents never looked at my bank statements because they genuinely didn't care enough about my life to check. They were too busy financing Chloe's lifestyle to notice I was quietly building my escape fund. It's been roughly 2 years since I walked out of that house. A lot has happened, and the escalation has been insane. Graduation came and went. I walked across the stage, accepted my diploma, and looked out into the crowd. My parents weren't there. Chloe wasn't there. They'd scheduled a family bonding day at a luxury spa because Chloe was stressed about finals. But Aunt Sarah was there in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. In late August, I moved to Boston to start at MIT. The campus was a sprawling, intimidating, beautiful maze of brick and glass. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt like I actually belonged somewhere. I wasn't Chloe's difficult older sister anymore. I was just Maya. I made friends who didn't know my family's toxic history. My roommate, Clara, was a brilliant mechanical engineering major who survived on espresso and sheer willpower. We spent our nights studying, laughing, and building a life that was entirely our own. 7 months into my freshman year, I applied for a highly competitive undergraduate research position in a cognitive neuroscience lab. It was mostly reserved for juniors and seniors, but my advisor told me to take a shot. I spent 3 sleepless nights perfecting my application essay, tying my interest in psychology to my own experiences with family dynamics, emotional neglect, and what they call glass child syndrome. I got the job. Not only did I get it, but the lead professor told me my essay was one of the most profound he had read in his career. The research position came with a generous stipend and real academic prestige. My name was going to be published in a major scientific journal before I even turned 20. I made a modest post on Facebook and Instagram sharing a picture of myself in the lab wearing my ID badge. The response was overwhelming. Friends, professors, old high school teachers flooded the comments with congratulations. Then the local hometown newspaper picked up the story. They ran a front-page feature titled "Local Graduate Makes Waves at MIT Neuroscience Lab." Suddenly, my phone started ringing. It was Mom. I stared at her name on the screen for a long time before answering purely out of morbid curiosity. "Maya, honey, how are you?" Her voice was dripping with that fake sugary sweetness she only used when she wanted something. "I'm fine, Mom. Just busy with the lab," I replied coldly. "We saw the article. We are just so proud of you," she gushed. "Listen, your father and I were talking. We know we might have handled your graduation a little poorly. So, we want to make it up to you. We want to throw you a massive belated party when you come home for spring break. We'll invite the whole neighborhood, the extended family, everyone. We can celebrate your amazing MIT job." I literally laughed out loud. It was so transparent. It was pathetic. Now that I had achieved something prestigious, something they could brag about to their country club friends to make themselves look like spectacular parents, they suddenly wanted me back. They wanted to parade me around like a shiny trophy. "I'm not coming home for spring break," I said flatly. "Clara and I are going to Florida. Have a nice life, Mom." I hung up and blocked her number. Well, that rejection set off a nuclear bomb. Chloe couldn't handle the fact that the town was talking about me, and she certainly couldn't handle that I rejected their invitation. So, she did what she always did. She threw a massive public tantrum. She went on Facebook and wrote a sprawling, unhinged essay about me. She claimed I had abandoned the family for a stupid party, that I was an arrogant, selfish brat who thought she was better than everyone else because she went to MIT, and that I had broken our mother's heart by cutting contact for absolutely no reason. She painted herself as the tragic, grieving sister left behind by a narcissist. But the narrative crumbled instantly. The town knew the truth. Former classmates, teachers, and neighbors flooded the comments. My old English teacher wrote, "Maya earned every single thing she has. I watched her work 40-hour weeks while maintaining straight A's while you skipped class to go shopping. She didn't abandon you. She escaped you." Aunt Sarah delivered the final blow. She commented, "Chloe, this is a fascinating creative writing exercise, but let's stick to the facts. Maya didn't abandon this family. She was driven out. Your parents canceled her high school graduation party because you threw a crying fit about not being the center of attention. Maya left because she realized she was nothing but an extra in the movie of your life. Do not mistake her setting healthy boundaries for abandonment. If you or your parents ever publicly slander her name again, I will personally post the receipts of exactly how she was treated in that house." Chloe deleted the post within 20 minutes, but the damage was done. The entire town saw it. My parents were utterly humiliated, completely exposed as the toxic abusers they were. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought they would finally leave me alone. I was so incredibly wrong. It's been a year since my last update, and I'm now a junior at MIT. And let me tell you, my family has officially imploded. The level of revenge that just unfolded is something I couldn't have orchestrated if I tried. Karma didn't just knock on their door, it kicked the door off its hinges. A few months ago, Clara and I decided to move off campus. We found a great little 2-bedroom apartment, filled out the applications, and paid the fees. 2 days later, the landlord called me. He sounded apologetic but confused. "Maya, I'm sorry, but we can't approve your application. Your credit score is in the low 400s, and you have several accounts in severe delinquency." My blood ran completely cold. I had never owned a credit card. I paid for everything with my debit card and my lab stipend. I immediately pulled my annual credit report. Sitting right there on the screen was a $25,000 Parent Plus loan in my name and 3 maxed-out credit cards totaling $18,000 in debt. All the billing addresses pointed directly to my parents' house in my hometown. I realized exactly what had happened. Chloe's Sweet 16 was approaching. She had been demanding a massive country club party and a brand new car. My parents, already financially stretched from years of spoiling her and trying to keep up appearances after the town turned on them, didn't have the cash. So, they decided to use my social security number, which they obviously had, and my pristine credit history to take out loans and credit cards. They assumed I would never check my credit until after college, or that if I did find out, I would be too scared to press charges against my own flesh and blood. They thought I was still that quiet, invisible little girl who would just take the abuse. I didn't even hesitate. I went straight to the Boston Police Department and sat down in the cold, fluorescent-lit office of a financial crimes detective. I handed him my massive folder, my real credit report, my birth certificate, my tax returns, and the printed evidence of the fraudulent accounts. These IP addresses for the online applications all trace back to a residential address in your hometown, the detective said, his brow furrowing. The billing address is your parents' house. You understand that if we pursue this, we are looking at multiple felony counts of identity theft and wire fraud against your immediate family. I looked him dead in the eye. Detective, those people stopped being my family the day I walked out of that house. Press the charges. I froze my credit, filed the police report, and contacted the credit bureaus to dispute the fraudulent accounts. But I didn't stop there. I remembered that my parents had always claimed me as a dependent on their taxes to get massive deductions, even though they hadn't given me a single dime since I walked out at 18. I filed my own taxes independently, claiming myself, and officially reported their fraudulent dependency claim to the IRS. The IRS didn't just look at that single year. They opened a comprehensive, brutal audit into my parents' finances spanning the last 5 years. While the IRS was tearing their financial lives apart, the local police made their move, and the timing was nothing short of cinematic. Chloe's Sweet 16 was the event of the decade. My parents had rented out the Grandview Country Club, hired a 5-tier cake decorator, and invited over 100 people. The centerpiece of the night was supposed to be the grand reveal of Chloe's brand new car, a pristine white 2023 Tesla Model 3, parked right in front of the club entrance with a massive red velvet bow on the hood. Right as my parents were gathering everyone outside for the big surprise, 2 squad cars pulled up the circular driveway, their red and blue lights flashing brilliantly against the manicured hedges. 2 detectives stepped out, walked right past the shocked guests, and publicly asked to speak to David and Helen Reynolds regarding multiple felony warrants for identity theft and wire fraud. The police questioned them right there in the lobby. The party came to a grinding, humiliating halt. The Tesla, which was leased using the fraudulent funds, was immediately flagged. The dealership came and repossessed it 3 days later. The fallout has been absolute carnage. My parents' credit is completely destroyed. The IRS hit them with tens of thousands of dollars in back taxes, massive penalties, and compounded interest for writing off personal vacations as business expenses and falsely claiming me. Between the IRS debt, the legal fees to keep themselves out of federal prison, and the maxed-out credit cards, which were legally transferred back to them after the police investigation, they were utterly drowning. Last month, I checked Zillow. Their beautiful 5-bedroom suburban house, the house I grew up feeling like a ghost in, was listed for sale. They were forced to sell it to cover their legal fees and tax debts. They've moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the bad side of town. Chloe, the golden child who was promised the world, lost her Tesla, her country club status, and her massive bedroom. She's a social pariah at school. The best part of all of this? Leo. When the house became an unbearable war zone of screaming matches and legal notices, Leo begged to leave. Aunt Sarah stepped up instantly. She filed for emergency guardianship, citing the criminal investigations and the toxic environment. My parents, too broke and defeated to fight it, signed the papers. Leo is living with Aunt Sarah now. He's 14, playing varsity soccer, and his grades have skyrocketed since he escaped that madhouse. We do weekly FaceTime calls, and I'm flying him out to Boston next month so he can tour the MIT campus. I promised him that when he's ready for college, he'll have a place to stay completely free of charge, with no strings attached. I am breaking the cycle. I am thriving. I have a 3.9 GPA. My research paper was published, and I have a family of my own making. My parents tried to reach out one last time, sending a pathetic email begging for forgiveness and grace during this hard financial season. I didn't reply. I just deleted the email, closed my laptop, and went out for coffee with my roommate. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever faced such blatant favoritism or betrayal from your own family? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to know.